Hello, everybody. Setting up my little chat screens here. It is 11th of June, 2025. And I just want to take a couple of minutes here and jump on while I had the house for a few minutes. It's summer now. The kids are out of school, so it is a little bit harder to find quiet time, especially during the day. Although my wife Leah is a rock star saint and has been taking on a heavy burden, making sure that the kids are, out and about doing stuff, so I can stay focused on work, which I am eternally grateful for. So I figured I would just jump on and say hi real quick. The couple of things that I wanted to chat about here while I had this time was, let's see, the hat trick. Let's do that first. That's the most recent release I've got. It has gotten really great reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. It is still lagging in reviews on Audible, which is a little frustrating because there's a big audience out there for those kinds of books on Audible, and getting all the reviews I can get kind of, makes it look more legitimate. So, yet again, I'm going to beg for reviews because that's what us authors do. If you listen to it on Audible, please take a minute and write it a review. If you can't do that, leave a rating for it. Huge, huge, huge help, especially with like getting promotions and such. So people like the book. It is looking more and more like it'll turn into some kind of a series, perhaps a trilogy. It's selling well enough. The reviews are good, and writing about Hugh and Lara and that whole family is fun. So I would say 60-40, probably going to get more in the Ravaged Skies universe, which leads me to the Ravaged Skies universe. The hat trick is in a shared universe, and there's probably about 12 of us authors who have all contributed a book to, the apocalyptic scenario that happens in the book. And all of the initial books are on the day of, which I believe is July 12th. And it kind of goes from there. And once each of these first books sort of takes place, each author is kind of left to operate in their own sort of area and timeline, and allowed to kind of move about. And some of the characters will cross over. You'll see some people showing up in other people's books. You'll see events happening. A lot of fun. I highly suggest you check out some of those other books. They're really fun, and they're written by, some pretty substantial names in the genre. At some point here, I kind of want to get a few of them on for like a live chat, so we can just kind of shoot the poo about their books. Mentioned it a few months ago, but now that summer's here, I think maybe we might be able to set up maybe a once a month or a couple times a month little 20-minute, half-hour chat, so you can learn about a new writer, maybe give their book a shot. I think it'd be fun. Let me know if that interests you, that kind of thing. Hat trick, Ravaged Skies, Adrian's, getting a lot of requests for the next and probably final AUD book. And I have not started it yet, but I think everybody kind of knew that. I had a couple of things I had to bang out first. The original plan was to write the 4th Diggory book right now and have it out by probably end of summer. However, it struggled to come together for me. A lot of the stuff that I had planned to write in the 4th book, which would be the final book in that series, has been kind of troubling me. And I have been distracted by a lit RPG project that I have been sort of like slow rolling for the last year or so. And, I was talking to my wife, Leah, about it, and she said, just start the lit RPG project. Just do it. Just start it and see where it goes. And it just kind of exploded in productivity for me, which, I have to chase the muse. So I'm already about 30,000 words in, and I've got a ton of development notes for it. And I've already got maps for the whole thing. And at the speed that I'm running it at, I'll probably have that done by the end of July. and then we'll kind of see what a release looks like for that. A lot of successful lit RPG projects wind up going public on a website called Royal Road, which is kind of like what I did with the original AUD, where you just post chapters, but it exists specifically for web fiction, and a lot of the big lit RPG people kind of got their start there. It's like a very lit RPG heavy market. Many of you are familiar with Dungeon Crawler Crawl by Matt Dinneman, and he posted a lot of stuff there. And after my visit to Audible headquarters a couple of weeks ago in Newark, where I got the chance to hang out with a bunch of pretty substantial names in the lit RPG sort of universe, and talking to them and getting their support and encouragement and stuff, I may wind up doing the Royal Road thing just to kind of like test the waters. I talked a little bit about that project. It's currently called The Undead Glitch, which is it's a zombie apocalypse online-ish, in-person-ish game. And the main character's name is Seth Willard, and Seth it takes place in the future. I don't specify a date because it doesn't really matter, but Seth is a resident of a space station in the orbit of Titan, and he has like what we would consider a pretty mundane life. The dude just like works, and the space station has like a artificial gravity because it's a ring, and like indistinguishable from today. He's got some more high-tech stuff, but it doesn't change his life. And he's having trouble. His wife has some addiction issues that she's working through, and he kind of has to move in with his older sister and her family, and they're all cramped in this apartment. And to make ends meet, he's working his full-time day job, and he's also working a nighttime job from home, doing like customer service online for a company. And he's even resorted to like selling plasma because the dude's just broke, and he's trying to save up to get a place and move out and feed his kids and all that jazz. And then he finds out he's sick. He has what could potentially be a terminal illness. And Seth winds up like getting some help from some friends, and they recommend that like, hey, you should try and get on one of these games, either as a player, as a like a character, an NPC, like a employee, because if you go into the game environment, you interact with it through nanites that are injected into your system, and the nanites fuse to your nervous system and your entire biology, and they replicate and they create like a systemic system that allows you to experience this fantasy or horror world. They bind your optic nerves and change what you see, and they get into your ears and they change what you hear, and they can make you feel things that don't exist, right? Because they just attach to everything. And one of the things that the nanites also provide is health issues. So if you get hurt in game, the nanites can speed up your healing process and whatnot, and they can heal the sickness that he has. So it's really, it becomes a life goal for him to get into this game so he can get this nanite injection, which would otherwise be like cost prohibitive. And that's basically the outset of the story. And then, he loads in, and it's an apocalyptic scenario, and there's zombies all over the place, and he just kind of like has to figure out what happens from there. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's fun. And I am basing the zombie apocalypse scenario in the book essentially around a lot of stuff from AUD, right? So if you've read Adrian's books, you'll notice tons of stuff because it's just fun, and I've already got the material, and I think people will really get a kick out of it. So I'm already a third done with it, and I've only been writing it for like maybe a month. So I'm really excited to get that done. I may wind up doing a Kickstarter for it because I think there could be like a lot of really cool merch that I could throw at it, and narration is going to be pretty expensive for it, and it might just be fun to have people be able to get on board early. Essentially, I use Kickstarter to take pre-orders. I don't need to do a Kickstarter to do the book, but it's really cool to be able to give people special copies of it, and sign stuff, and maybe bookmarks, and maybe coins. I think dice would probably be a good idea to make for it. We'll see. But Undead Glitch will be the first book. The series will be called The Corrupt Campaign, and probably 3 books, maybe 4. We'll see if it's popular. But I'm super excited to write it because it keeps me in the apocalyptic scenario. It keeps me, in the zombie stuff, and it's just fun because, like, like I joked with the lit RPG people I met at Audible that, like the Venn diagram of my life is writing and gaming, and lit RPG is like where they meet. So you have like all of this like writing stuff that I've been working on, and then I can bring in all the gaming stuff that, I used to be a developer and I still play all the time. And being able to like write, including both of them, will be great. And I'm writing it in a way that if you're not a gamer, the game mechanics aren't going to completely ruin your story experience, and vice versa. A lot of lit RPG stuff is very rules heavy. Like the books are literally just like filled with like game text and, number crunching and stuff like that. And that is definitely a subset of the genre, but I don't want to like go that far into it because I feel like the people who I already write for aren't going to be totally thrilled with it, but including enough of it to keep them interested, but not scare them away, and then get the lit RPG people in, I think will be a fun little balance. And it's me, it's my writing, right? So like the characters all have the same senses of humor and interactions, and there's like stuff going on, and sometimes the good guys are bad and bad guys are good. And, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that our hero Seth will have to figure out. Never mind all the drama that's at home. So yeah, that's what I'm working on, Undead Glitch. I don't have a release date for it, but like I said, I'm about a third of the way through. Once I get done with that, depending upon how long it takes and what the clamor is for, I'll either wrap up Diggory or roll right straight into the 16th AUD book, which is probably going to be titled The Fractured Soul. I've had that name as a book pending for, 5 or 6 years now, at least. And back when the original plan for Adrian's March was only 5 books, it was supposed to be the 5th book. But now we're 7 books in, looking at an 8th, and now it's probably going to be the 8th book. But we'll see, because I outline and I plan, but the reality of it is once you start writing, characters take on bigger roles, scenes take on larger scope, and we'll see. I also don't want to fill the book with garbage. I don't want to make it longer just to sell, or drag it out just to cash in. That's never been my goal or hope or whatever. The Audible thing, I posted a bunch of times some videos and some pictures, but essentially it was called the 2025 Audible ACX Author Summit, where they invited in a bunch of people who have done a lot of indie audiobook publishing, which I have. I think about 10, maybe 12 of my titles were published through Audible Studios, which is their publisher, which they take and they run with it. They cast, they do all the production, and they handle everything, which is like a traditional publishing deal. And then the rest of my stuff I've done through ACX, which is their indie platform, where the rights holder, that's me, the author, can produce and control everything from stem to stern. Hire the narrator, pay the narrator, do the post-production, all that jazz. And I like doing them that way now because I can control more, and I don't have to worry about getting the wrong narrators. I have more say in it. And at the end of the day, even though I don't have as many promotion opportunities as I might with a bigger publisher, the margin is higher per book. So as long as I'm still putting out good stuff, it's paying the bills. So they invited a whole bunch of us in. There was about 75 authors from across the country, world probably. And it was a full day conference where they just kind of talked about all the things that Audible is working on, opportunities for us inside the company in terms of like promotions and technology, and addressing like what the future of audiobooks looked like as far as, Audible and ACX was concerned. And all of that stuff was great. A lot of it was just business stuff that's just not interesting to talk about. They talked about the elephant in the room of AI and the fact that it's just not going away. And they have some plans for integrating it into the production of audiobooks in a way that is ethical, which I was definitely concerned about because I don't want to put any narrator out of business. And I want narrators. I want a talented person creating a book that, does something that's more than just, a robot reading a voice. And they have stuff, in process that will allow us to to see that. So that was good. Other business stuff, kind of boring, but like I said, when I was there, they put us up in a hotel right around the corner from their headquarters, which is gorgeous, by the way. And we were all there, and I get to rub elbows with a bunch of authors from all over the spectrum, but tons of romance, nonfiction, mystery, crime, thriller, a bunch of lit RPG guys. There's a bunch of science fiction people, like across the board. And it was really nice to be able to just hang out with other people who do what I do for a living. I am, in the rarefied air of being able to do this full time, and the overwhelming majority of writers like me can't. They just haven't gotten enough to hit to be able to say, all right, I'm an author. And being able to hang out with people who work full time doing what I do, and talking to their reality and what their day to day looks like, it was really humbling and normalizing. Because they struggle with all the same stuff I struggle with, and we're all beating the same drum. And it was really cool. Just a really great experience, and I feel really fortunate. So big thank you to Audible and ACX for inviting me, and really making me feel validated and successful in a way that I kind of hadn't before. What else? Undead Glitch stuff. Again, just before I walk on from that, I am posting the chapters to Patreon, my Patreon. So if you want to read it as I go, it's already going up there. The first chapter of it is free. Anybody can just go and look at it. But after that, you have to have a subscription, which is just $3.33 a month. And they now have subscription packages where you can do it by the year to get a discount. So instead of paying, what would it be, 12 times 33, I think they knock 10% off, whatever that is. So it winds up being a deal if you want to do it up front. So anyway, if you want to check it out, I think it's Chris Philbrook or Patreon /Philbrook author, or Chris Philbrook, one of the two. You can also go to Patreon and just drop my name in. My chat isn't working. I'm not sure why. I keep changing channels. So if you're talking to me and I am not responding, you have my sincere apologies. I do not know why it is not working. I am live. Dashboard. Let's see. Manage your stream. Chat settings. Let's try one more time. Sorry for this technical difficulty segue. Yeah. Scale. Yeah, that doesn't help me at all, homie. Anywho, if you're talking to me, I apologize. I will follow up after this and try to reply to comments. So forgive my monologuing for this live chat. Diggory 4 will happen. AUD 16 will happen. Not sure which order that'll be in. Glitch looks like it's going to be first. Almost certainly going to be another hat trick novel. It'll probably be on the shorter side, like the hat trick, just because that's the kind of story that I feel I can write that fits that kind of genre and universe. I think the hat trick was 75,000 words, which is a little on the short side, but it was a good story. It was punchy. It didn't drag. This coming Saturday, which I believe is the 14th, if I look at my calendar correctly, it's the day before Father's Day, and I will be out and about in the wild at Fuller Public Library here in New Hampshire, back in my hometown of Hillsborough, which is where I went to high school and lived from 8th grade till graduation, and then I wound up moving back a few years later, and I lived there for 5-6 years before moving. And it's a town. It's about 5,000-6,000 people. It's blue collar for sure. And one thing that's really great about Hillsborough is the library, Fuller. It's a very old Victorian mansion that was donated to the town that got turned into the library. And if you've never been to the building, it is beautiful. It's this enormous, I think 4-story tall Victorian with this turret and a wraparound porch and, huge windows and enormous, glass doors, and just, it's a beautiful, beautiful building. And it's a step back in history. And, I went there quite a bit growing up, and being invited back annually for their author event, usually in June, has been like pretty sweet. So I definitely want to go back to support them, and I'll be there from 10 to 2 roughly. And they're doing readings this year and a raffle. And I believe my reading is like at 10:30 or 10:40 in the morning. And it's probably going to be inside in one of their conference rooms on the second floor. And if you want to be there, please stop by. The event is free. Parking is right across the street. Parking is free. There's a free raffle. A bunch of us, the writers who are showing up, there's about 10 of us, donated like books and swag and all that other jazz. So if you show up, you get a raffle ticket and you might win something. I think I donated 3 books, and I always have like free stuff at my table because it's just nice to see people. Weather permitting, tables will be outside on their front lawn. I've got a little tenty thing, and I've got a table and all that jazz. So hopefully we'll be out there. If it is raining, we'll just go inside. Their upstairs is all like conference rooms and meeting rooms and stuff like that. So we'll go up there, which we've had to do a couple of years. But yeah, it's in Hillsborough. It's it's sandwiched right between Keene, Manchester, and Concord, which are 3 of the bigger cities in the state, right off Interstate 89, not too far from 93. So yeah, if you're in the area, please stop by. If you have anybody you want to send, let them know. 10 to noon or 10 to 2 this Saturday, Hillsborough, New Hampshire. For other appearances, I finally booked a table at AuthorCon down in Williamsburg, Virginia. Previously, AuthorCon was known as Scares That Care. And I went 2 years running when it was Scares That Care when the kids were little. And then it just became logistically really hard to travel with them because they were, they couldn't really hang with long car rides. When they were tiny, tiny, tiny and they just slept for 10 hours, we just drive overnight and it was fine. But, there was a sweet spot where it just wasn't possible. But here we are. They're, 7 and 9 now. And Williamsburg is about a 10-hour drive, probably a 9-hour drive from where we are now. And I'm not sure if we're going to fly or drive or fly and a drive. We don't have to figure that out. But AuthorCon is in February of next year, the end of February. And it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. And it is all authors now. It used to be kind of a pop culture horror convention. So there used to be, merch and swag and celebrities and all that jazz. But the people who organize it, who are saints for its charity, have kind of pivoted it into being all about writers, with a very heavy horror tilt. And the stuff I write kind of like walks on the edge of horror. Even though most people classify zombie apocalypse and post-apocalyptic stuff as science fiction, I mean, I think zombie stuff is very much horror, like people don't go to the movie theater and say, oh, I saw this great science fiction zombie movie. It's a zombie horror movie, right? But whatever. Anywho, AuthorCon brings in huge names, like really big names, Joe Lansdell, John Mayberry, Ron Malfi, Josh Mallerman, Brian Keene helps organize the thing. Just, like really, really, really big names. And then, I'll be there. I'll be in the ballroom. I got a table in the ballroom, which is, the big room on the first floor of the hotel. If you've never been to AuthorCon or Scares That Care, it's terrific. The hotel is, a nice little vacation-y resort hotel. It's got a wonderful pool inside. It's an indoor-outdoor pool. It's a super kid-friendly convention. The staff are A+, and all the money that the convention raises goes to charity. They pick a handful of people to get support from every show, specific people. And there's like usually a burn victim, there's a kid, there's a cancer victim, and that kind of stuff. And all of the money goes to those specific people that they pick ahead of the con. So you show up and the exact people who are going to get the help from that show. which is awesome. They do like really sweet memorabilia raffles, silent raffles, and stuff like that. So they raise a ton of money from donations, and everybody just kind of chips in, and it's really really fun. It's also right near Busch Gardens, I believe, or Six Flags, or both. So if you like wanted to rope it into a vacation, it's like literally right down the street from there. And if you can't stay at the venue hotel, because that's it books up real fast. Like you have to start looking at rooms now for February. If you can't get a room there, there's like 25 hotels within a 5-minute drive, which are all reasonably priced. So AuthorCon, February 2026, I will be there. The last couple times I went, it was right out straight the whole time. Tons and tons and tons of fun. And we went out to dinners, and it was just really, really great. I volunteered to do panels this year, which I did panels last time. And those are always fun. Usually there's like a reading panel that you can be on where you just like read from one of your works. And then I think the last time I did it was like how to be a writer with family. And I can't remember what the other one was, but it was fun. And, I was on the panel with Armand Rosamia and Jay Wilburn, who's no longer with us. Unfortunately, Jay was a saint. And Jonathan Jans, who's doing really, really well with his last few releases. The four of us were, raising hell. So having a great time. That's also where Jeff and Shannon Clare got married, who, if you don't know Jeff and Shannon, they were the original founders of the All Things Zombie Facebook group, which I'm still an admin on, even though the group has kind of gone to the wayside. But I was the best man at their wedding for Jeff. And, it was right in front of the con, and the whole convention came out to it. And, there's like 400 or 500 people, and, they had zombies walking the aisles, and it was a really, really wonderful experience. So AuthorCon, late February 2026, Williamsburg, Virginia, which is near Norfolk. And what else for appearances? I don't think I have any conventions booked. As I've said before, I am leaning towards trying to do more like library stuff, like free to the community and low cost to me, because a lot of the conventions are just like unreasonably expensive. AuthorCon makes sense to spend the money on because it's also going to be a vacation for us. Like we're going to go down, I think, a couple of days early and stay a couple of days late and take the kids to, some of the things to do down there. And, then it's worth it. But I don't think I have anything else big set up. Oh, Laconia here in New Hampshire. Laconia is up in the Lakes region, Lake Winnipesaukee, which is one of America's largest freshwater inland lakes. It's certainly the largest in New England. But Laconia is where the Bike Week rally is. If you've never heard of it, there's like the Sturgis Bike Rally out in North Dakota, which is a huge motorcycle rally. And then Laconia Bike Rally is, I think, the second or third largest. So the city is accustomed to big shows. But the Laconia Library invited me to an author event in November of this year. Which will be fun. I don't know who else is going to that, but I think they sent out the invite to, probably 20 New England area authors, which will be really great. The Hillsborough event, by the way, if you have not read or listened to the Diggory books, part of the Diggory books takes place in Hillsborough, because Diggory takes place on the Vermont-New Hampshire border, and Hillsborough is like probably 45 minutes from Vermont. There's a waterfall there that Diggory meets his dad at, and they sit and talk. And I used to swim at that waterfall, and I always wanted to put it in a book, so I did. So if you do come out to the book event in Hillsborough, you can go to the waterfall. It's called Gleason Falls. It's easy to get to, and it's really pretty. And on a hot day, it's heaven. So I think that is about all I've got. I mentioned the other day that I wanted to try and move some of the challenge coins, and I had a sale. It's like, I think 1 for 15 or 2 for 25 or something like that. If you're interested, shoot me a PM. I have a bunch of those I want to kind of move. They're kind of in the way, and I don't have as many appearances to kind of put them out at. And, the weather's good. We had a couple of really hot days here in New Hampshire, and then it was rainy, and then it was hot, and then it was rainy, and right now it's sunny, and it's going to be 80, and the humidity is low. and the kids are going to go swimming later. Our new house is coming along. It's new to us, but quite old. It's a 1797 farmhouse, older than the light bulb, we like to tell people. And it was a rental before we bought it, so we're kind of bringing it back to life. We're doing a lot of the work to, renovate the things that they kind of neglected. If you've been following me, my personal page, you'll know that I've had a lot of poison ivy this year because we started on the yard work, and we were out there ripping up an area to kind of clear out, a corner of the yard, and the ivy hadn't grown leaves yet. It was all just ground vines. And ground vines are all over the place here. We have like Virginia creeper vines and a bunch of other stuff that's just vines. And I looked, didn't see any of the poison ivy, and was just like ripping stuff up all day one day. And then the next day was like unbelievably poison ivied. And as it turns out, I'm wildly allergic to it. Got that handled, got all the creams, did the oatmeal wraps, that went away. And then we went about our business. And then like a week after that, the kids took a bike ride on a trail, and there was poison ivy all along the sides of the trail, and they were riding their bikes into it and didn't tell me. And when they got off the trail, I, threw Juniper's scooter over my shoulder and just picked up Willow's bike and put it in the back of the car, and got poison ivy like all over my arm, all over my neck. I had like all of my ear. And that one got really bad. Like that got infected, and I had to go to urgent care, and they put me on steroids and amoxicillin because like it was bad. I've never had it that bad. And then that finally went away. And then we went out back, and we're installing a patio, which is about 95% done. And when I was working on the patio, it was in the area that we, raised the earth of the poison ivy. And I wound up getting, wore long sleeves, wore long pants, had a hat, didn't touch anything. I put did all the precautions, and still wound up getting more poison ivy. And I had it all over like my love handles because my shirt was coming up. So I had like a ring of poison ivy, like where my belt line is. And I had it on my butt cheek, which is super exciting and probably TMI, but that didn't get that bad. And I had a physical right after I got that. And the doctor was like, let's just give you more prednisone just so it doesn't get worse. So I am now on my second round of steroids and 1 round of antibiotics this summer just for poison ivy. But as you can see, I look pretty good. All of my rashes are gone. I don't think the camera will pick it up, but I actually have scars from it that, might stick around, as little like speckled bruisey spots. So yeah, screw poison ivy. So that's where we're at. House is good, kids are great, wife is amazing. It is all great. Writing production's going wonderful. I should have two releases the rest of this year. Definitely Undead Glitch, possibly AUD 16 or Degree 4. If I keep writing at the rate I'm writing at, potentially 3, but I can't promise that. And check out the hat trick if you haven't already. If you enjoy the hat trick and you liked the scenario of the solar flare knocking everything out and kind of throwing everything back into the Stone Age, absolutely check out the other authors in the Ravaged Skies universe. If you go to my Facebook page, the banner has a picture of, I think, all of the current releases. We're in a little bit of a lull. I think D. Cooper has a book coming out, and I know J.S. Patrick has a book coming out, but I think they're still a few weeks out. So if you wanted to catch up on the universe now, would be great. There's no proper reading order because they're all book ones on the day of the event. So you can pick and choose whoever, jump from whoever to whatever, and just kind of like a la carte your experience. And please support the people who helped create that universe with me. We all want to help each other be successful. As always, if anybody has any questions about anything or has suggestions or feedback, I'm here. You can message me on Facebook. You can message me on Instagram. I'm also on Reddit, trying to be more active on Reddit. YouTube as well. If you reply to a video, you put a comment on. I have notifications on for that so I can see it. I do ask that you give me time to get back to people because it can be a lot on some days. But yeah, I'm always here. I'm accessible. Everybody matters to me. I don't sell so many books that I can't, scrape out a minute here and there to touch base with people who want to connect with me. And I just, I want to let you know that you matter. So It's been great not talking to anybody because I can't see the fucking chat. Pardon my language. But yeah, again, just thanks. And, I'll be around. Yeah. So thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you all soon. Appreciate the support. And if I don't talk to you again for a while, make sure y'all have a wonderful summer.